be like, right, it's a really strong deck against fighting, but as soon as I come up against Zoroark, it becomes a lot more difficult.
Of course.
But you can find ways, like it's 130 HP, which means it's not ever one shot by a Zoroark. And you can find turns where you might be able to trap something in the active, or just put the 20s on the 2-bench Zoroarks, which then means they have 190 HP, which becomes far more likely to hit.
Far more likely.
That means that you can actually use Choice Banded normal Necrozma GX with 3 energy, and away it goes. Like, you have far better, more outs at that stage. So it's actually a really nice option because it has 2 good attacks. It's not just 1 good attack like most of them. But in terms of having many attacks available to them, the other one I've seen, especially from Mirror, has been the Mimikyu.
Yes.
Being able to copy your opponent's attack basically for 2 energy, and you just go, well, that's fine. You've played a Dawn Wings.
Yeah, I'll come back.
I'll just use your Dawn Wings. It makes my life a lot easier.
Of course. And then we did see as well the Mewtwo GX from Shining Legends. One of the really interesting ones, not only does its GX attack do 200 damage, but it goes through all effective attacks. So another really nice card in the mirror, able to go straight through the Moon's Eclipse barrier and knock out those Dawn Wings anyway. I think Side Striker really sort of ample GX attack for the format we're in now. Maybe not as good before, but now it's really in a position to where 200 is exactly what you need for a lot of these decks, as well as being able to go through any of these immunities that Pokemon might have.
Actually, the biggest thing with the GX attack for Mewtwo GX is the thing that the Buzzwole matchup for Psychic Manamar should be favourable, and the thing that they actually genuinely struggle with, and the reason why I think 2/2 Lycanroc is a serious consideration, is it's not Psychic weak and it has 200 HP. But hang on. We now have a GX attack that does exactly 200 damage, so they put a Lycanroc down, you just charge up at Mewtwo and go, no. This is not causing me problems. This is a free 2 prize card, which is actually a really nice one. There's been several other options I've seen thrown around. The Mew from Fate's Collide has been another consideration. The Latios has seen
I really
mentioned.
like the Latios.
So, I've never tested that one, so can you, have you got anything in particular that...
The thing that I really like the Latios for is obviously, again, we sort of talked about the Hooper being able to snipe 20 in certain matchups, especially Zoroark. The thing that I like a lot about the Latios is you can use Lagoon Strike as well, and obviously for 3 Psychic, you've got a 1 prize attacker that can hit exactly 100 and do the mass that Mewtwo would be doing for its GX attack. I really like that. As well as that, you can poke 30 onto each one of the Lycanrocs and stuff like that, meaning that you only have to discard 3 energy off your Necrozma GX in order to knock it out. As you know, you've got the 60, 120, 180, and of course with the 30 snipe, you're getting right there. So I think that's a really big consideration for it. I also like the Latios in other decks as well. You know, we saw the Greninja GX deck that did extremely well in Tours. The Latios showing a lot of work there, being able to hit 120 on some of these Buzzwoles and evolving behind and get the rest of the snipes. As well as that, I feel like if I was playing any sort of a deck that wasn't necessarily the best thing for the meta right now, whether it be Zoroark, Lycanroc, whether it be something like that, I think the Latios is very nice. If you're playing the DCE, you just get it on there, very nice and comfy. Throw in, and then of course able to do the damage that way.
Well, yeah, because so the old school tech options for Psychic Techs against Buzzwole were Mewtwo, which has really, from Evolutions, has kind of seen some play. We actually saw it put in some work earlier on, but a lot of people have gone, it's not actually enough because you need to have 3 energy on a Buzzwole GX, and you need still need a Choice Band to be able to take the KO, which just makes it somewhat underwhelming. And the Mew EX, which is basically dropped off the face of the earth because now they just put down a non-GX Buzzwole, go, but I'll take it. It's 120. Pew. Yeah, it's like, thanks.
You got to tickle a Mew EX, and it's gone for 2 prizes. Like, so I think that the format's very much evolved into something to where, you know, non-GX attackers are really starting to be the things that are moving the format in a different direction. I wouldn't be surprised if we started to see, you know, really sort of off-the-wall things, you know, the Armor Galissapod, for example, being able to knock out some of those GXs and stuff like that. However, it still remains a non-GX Pokemon, able to take 30 less damage from attacks, meaning that, for example, a Knuckle Impact doesn't knock it out unless they've got some of these damage modifiers and stuff like that. So it's a case of maybe further on, maybe for North America, maybe for Worlds, we might see a lot more of these non-GX attackers coming into play.
Well, that's actually something interesting in just the way that the sets have been printed recently. There haven't been that many. Because, you know,
really have not.
You know, so there was the time, Roaring Skies, when you had Night March everywhere. That's a single prize attacker. Whole deck load of them, and normally in a whole discard full of them as well. If they were working
a
properly.
whole discard full of them.
Then by breakpoint we had Greninja, we also had Trevenant. And those three were really strong, but single price attackers. They kind of were able to kind of exploit things and keep things running for long games, and just eventually your opponent just misses a beat, and that's all it takes. So until we get to that point, then that's what we're kind of looking at.
Yeah, I think we've got some more upcoming cards as well that are really interesting. It's a case of has the game been on this whole time?
Yeah, actually.
So the reason why
you were talking so much, I didn't realize you didn't see the game. But okay,
so with the technical difficulties, it took us a little while to get the stream up on our thing. So jumping in 5 minutes into the round.
We didn't even know this was happening, by the way, guys. We haven't just been talking about random stuff.
As far as we knew, they were genuinely still tech problems.
We had a black screen. We were just talking away, trying to fill the space before it got fixed. But apparently, it was fixed the whole time. So there we go. Anyway, jumping back in, we'll jump in all natural, ready to go. So on Seb's side of the board, we see a few Zoroark being played down. Obviously, a Lele and the active with a DCE. And Rick Verwell actually turns out he's playing what I like to call Paw Patrol, Zoroark Lycanroc. So we see an interesting matchup. We can't actually see yet ourselves what Seb has been playing. I don't know if it's been on the stream this whole time for them to have been watching it so far.
Okay,
oh, that's actually, yeah.
You guys have had a nice discussion about our tech choices while watching this game. So if any of you know in chat what Seb is playing, please let David know and he can tell us.
But it is Ultra Balling, so I think we might find out this turn. Anyway, so we're looking at a situation here. We can't see prizes, however.
No, so the prize cams, we'll probably fix that between rounds. So we see a Mallow.
And Seb puts down the 2 Mallows straight away. Obviously, we don't know what is prize for Seb, but from the way it's looking, his board state looks pretty strong right now. He's got 2 Zoroark up. He's going to be able to draw into the things that he needs, hopefully, by this turn. I can see a strong in his hand, so I do imagine that he is also playing Zoroark Lycanroc as well, making this mirror match quite interesting. Oh my gosh,
he's going in.
So that Lele actually being able to knock out the Zoroark, I did not see that coming at all, but that is a total, guys, of 150, 100, oh my, that was a lot of damage. That was a lot. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 150. Yeah, 150 damage. That is hell of a lot coming off that Lele there.
Well, so this is something that we haven't seen throughout the day because we haven't seen an awful lot of Zoroark, and if we have, it's been up against Buzz where it's on a very short timer. But it's always in a position to have everything it needs, always everything it needs, and that's actually a really cool thing for it. In having access to the Mallow. I'm assuming that was for exactly DCE choice band for the Mallow. It gives you so many options. However, actually something really important here is with the parallel in play, Seb's got the parallel freaking down Rick's bench, which is actually really strong here. But there's no Rockruff in play for Seb still. So having that Lycanroc can still.
There might have been a
board.
Rockruff though, because Rick's on 4 prizes, which means he could have got rid of it early on. I don't know though.
True.
I don't know. We'll have a much better analysis of this game in game 2, I think. Right? we've missed some integral stuff in here, but we do apologise once again, guys. We will try and pick up the slack within the next game. But going back into sort of what we were saying at the start, Parallel City causing Rick Verwell a lot of problems here. It's a case of, with these Zoroark decks, in order to get the maximum damage output on your Riotous beating, you want a full bench. In order to get enough trades off, you want a full bench. So these decks are really some of the decks that suffer a lot from Parallel City, making it still a very good card. And it is going to be a shame losing it, obviously, when rotation happens.
You can say that, but then I know an awful lot of players, and I'm one of them, who'll be very happy to see that card leave the format.
I love Parallel so much.
So the Field Blower, though, gets rid of the choice band, which is actually kind of nice here, because it now means that Seb's very aggressive Lele is slightly less aggressive.
Slightly less. However, it would be really cool here to see him attach another DC in a choice band, being able to knock out the Zoroark. So Let's see if that happens. He does have the Rockruff in hand now. There'll be a debate of whether it comes down. I think he's got 2 puzzles at a time in hand as well, because he's just put his hand down, having a little bit of a think. And we have the deck lists as well, providing a little bit more discussion. So let's have a look. Actually, it might be pretty cool to see how they compare to them. So Rick playing the 3 Bridger as opposed to Seb's 4. So that's one. And look at that, Seb has already put it straight back in our face as well. There is a really interesting Mew EX in here.
Yeah, so even though we were in the discussion we were talking about maybe Mew EX is less good as a tech, in Zoroark it's still probably the best option you have because it takes a one-shot. Yes, okay, it gets responded on, but because you have access to your puzzles, you can just take it back from your discard, do it again, and keep the one Mew EX running.
Yeah, I think you're in another situation with these Zoroark decks as well.
So it's a double puzzle from Seb. It looks like E-Hammer is one of them. I think he's considering Enhanced Hammer...
Mallow?
Yeah.
Enhanced Hammer Mallow.
So, trying to run Rick out of energy just to make it a little bit harder. You know, with the fact that Seb has multiple... Zoroarks in play, he's actually pretty happy with it, with his board. So actually, they're both playing the Mew EX from Legendary Treasures. So interesting to see that they both decided this is the only way to continue beating Buzz. I wouldn't be surprised if this was the more or less the list that did very well in Tours.
I think we're looking at pretty much, I'm looking at both the lists here. I think there's only 1 or 2 differences. Seb really interestingly playing a Delinquent in his list. Really, I personally think that's a really cool card. Obviously, against these Buzzwole players, we've been talking all day about the fact that they don't have any draw power unless they have Octillery out. Perhaps it may be a really good thing. Put down that Parallel City, get rid of their bench Pokemon, force them to get rid of some of their bench, knock out their Octillery, and then next turn use that Delinquent to get rid of some of their hand as well. I actually think some of those plays could be really, really depleting to a Buzz player.
I'm genuinely trying to work out the Delinquent as a card because, yes, okay, there's a lot of stadiums. Being able to knock away people's Brooklet Hills and stuff is nice. It's effectively another out. It's a searchable way of kicking a stadium as well. You can tap a Lele into it, so it's a searchable way of helping that situation. And the trick with kind of denying the hand size is one option that I guess this deck probably wants, especially in the mirror.
Yeah, I think in the mirror especially, Delinquent would be really nice. Obviously, it's a card that not many players would expect to be seeing, obviously, in the mirror, unless they've obviously played round 1 and it's been dropped. But I think it's a card that if concealed and you Parallel City your opponent, then Delinquent them, I think it can be a really, really devastating play.
Yeah. Well, it's also a case of, they can get into situations where a lot of these decks actually need a fair few cards for a combo to be able to actually achieve their end goal. Buzzwoles need to find elixirs and strong energies and it's a list of things. You can actually, which means that they get into situations where more often than not, a lot of cards in someone's hand they don't want to get rid of. So I'm just trying to see what Rick's.
We're in a strange spot here because Rick can, attach the DCE back to the Zoroark and take the knockout on the Lele. However, that Rockruff is looking pretty tasty on the bench right now. It's got the DCE on it already. All Seb needs is a strong energy to get on there, and it is actually able to knock out that Zoroark just for a Claw Slash, leaving his GX attack open for the late game sweep as well. So I actually think, although Seb's board state doesn't look incredible, as long as he's able to get that out, he could be in a really good position.
Yeah, so I think he has at least a Guzma in hand. He's just trying to work out if it's more likely he draws into things or if he wants to use his support for something else. And I think he's in a situation where he's actually probably happier to... Oh, he's actually hit Mallow, so that's huge. That's
he's hit the Mallow
energy.
Again. He's that Mallow really putting in work for him, allowing him to put 2 cards on top of his deck. I saw the strong energy go straight to the bottom of the pile there, ready for him to grab. I'm pretty sure that was just the Lycanroc and the strong energy. Here, I don't think you want to activate Bloodthirsty Eyes. I think you just want to drop the Lycanroc down and just do Claw Slash, knocking out the Lycanroc, and then, as I said, leaving Dangerous Rogue as an option late game. All Rick has to do is bench 1 more Pokemon, which if he's only got one Zoroark, he is probably going to want to, whether he chooses to play around it or not. But Dangerous Rogue can then take a full sweep on a Lycanroc then as well, so it'll be really interesting to see.
So, also the other option with that is actually Rick's response to this is actually really limited. Without playing down the another Pokemon, there's no way he'd ever really pressuring. He can try and two-shot with a Lele, which is one potential play he can go for, but instead we'll see what he goes for here, because Seb's just going, right, just double checking, like, do we probably have game in hand? So we come back to the point now where we have Rick having to work out what to promote. It's got to be, the Lele makes most sense because at the very least this can attack. It isn't.
I think the Lele can also be dangerous though, because obviously with a strong energy Dangerous Rogue, if Rick benches one thing, that Lele is actually very plausible to take the last two prizes for Seb. So he's going to be eyeing up that Guzma in his hand that we know is there. All he needs is a Floatstone then to hop in and out, even if that Lele returns to the bench. Obviously though, it all relies on the fact whether Rick benches another Pokemon.
Also, I think the Guzma is still in hand, and there's at least one puzzle in Seb's hand as well, which means that if Seb finds the second puzzle, it's always game. There's no way of avoiding it. But yeah, the option here is basically attack for 100 and kind of hope a little bit here of swing in. We can't afford to bench anything, otherwise we lose. If we go 100, my opponent needs to hit Choice Band Strong.
He is debating the Rockruff though. I saw it move to the front of his hand. It just depends on whether he plays it down here. It'll be a risky mistake if he does. Not even risky, it'll be a very poor mistake if he did. Opts not to, just the 100 damage as he said, and Floatstone Guzma grabs the Zoroark, and good game. Yep. Very well played from Seb. We knew the Guzma was hand, as we said, we needed the Floatstone in order to hop in and out of the active. He had that, very well played. Obviously we didn't see the start of the game, so sorry we couldn't bring you a lot of coverage on what happened early, but towards the end though, I feel like we grasped where the game was. We saw the puzzles, we saw the mallows, we saw everything happen, so hopefully we covered as much as we could, as well as we could. But really interesting mirror match this, because obviously we have two decks against each other that both draw cards and hit each other for weakness. So it's more a case of who does it first, right? So, and really I think the thing that wins you this matchup is who times their Bloodthirsty Eyes and their Dangerous Rogue better.
Seb won. So something that's also quite interesting is we said earlier on in this triangle format that people think we're in, that maybe Zoroark Lycanroc is not the way forward at the moment, because of the fact that you have there's a lot of Buzzwole around, there's a lot of baby buzz, and what this clearly shows that these two being at the scores they are is actually the room has got a lot more Malamar in it.
Yeah,
because these are decks that, like, to get to 4-0, it's quite likely that you've done that through taking a couple of favourable matchups, which I think it's a lot of Malamar downstairs as opposed to as much buzz as we're used to seeing.
Yeah, I think I've been saying this over the last couple of weeks. I think that whenever you come to Europe, you need to appreciate the fact that Zoroark is a lot more played here. It's a lot more love. As we said earlier, this almost church adored, where people sort of live under this big church of Zoroark. And they love the deck. They'll never leave the deck side. Essentially, we've seen Tord move away from it. Unfortunately, today, he did not live on the legacy. However, in Europe, people had to learn for this matchup. I feel that no matter what, Zoroark is going to be a played deck here. We have players who know how to play it. We have players who have mastered it. Even I would go as far to say. So, of course, I think it's always going to be a good place in a country that knows how to do it properly.
So, actually, see Rick starting game 2. And actually having the Bridget in his opening hand, the best case scenario for the deck of going, right, we don't need to use a bench space for a Lele, which is actually really important in this mirror, because that Lele, if it sits around all game, just eventually feeds a Bloodthirsty Eyes and KO, or a Dangerous Rogue gets an extra 50 damage for free. So being able to just have it and have the Parallel in the opening hand again, we're seeing some pretty strong options, and these decks just always seem to have everything.
Yeah, of course. Zoroark naturally does it, but I think the greatest part about this is the Parallel in the first hand. I think that's really important. It doesn't allow Seb to get the full setup that he wants. He's already got 2 Zoroark on board, which means that he probably want to go for another one, perhaps his 2 Rockruff, perhaps another 2 Zoroark 1 Rockruff, but that would have allowed him to have the full setup that he wants ready to go next turn. But more interestingly, if you look down at the prizes, Rick's prizes are absolutely awful. He has 1 Zoroark in there, 2 Puzzle at a time, 2 Ultra Ball, and 1 Evo Soda. That's going to make his Zoroarks and Lycanrocs increasingly hard to get. Not only that though, it's going to make things increasingly hard to get back because his puzzles are separated. So if he does at any point take 2 prizes consecutively, he's not going to hit them both at the same time, meaning he's not going to be able to just have those in hand without having to trade into them or dig deep for them.
Well, so actually something you see there, if people are watching, is when Seb searched his deck, he actually kind of went off to one side for a moment, and from the looks of it, he's taking notes. Obviously, note-taking is perfectly allowed as long as the judge can have access to them at any time if they ask. And what Seb's doing here is going, look, this is a kind of matchup where actually knowing exactly what my 6 prize cards are is really useful. It means that we can play according to the important cards and go, right, okay, we're missing a Lycanroc, so finding that the second Lycanroc becomes a bit more difficult. We haven't got our own parallel, so we can't assume we'll find a parallel at some point. It kind of is all about checking to make sure you're playing to your outs, you know what you actually have available.
I think another really interesting thing to keep in mind here is the delinquent. Obviously, Seb knows that one of his parallels is prize. Perhaps that then makes this tactic a little less viable. He's not going to be able to get rid of Rick Stadium, play down his delinquent away his stadium, play down his own, and sort of turn the tables the other direction. I think it's actually very important that he finds that parallel as soon as possible if he does want to bring off that play, because I feel like this is the matchup where those sort of plays are really good. Especially the fact that Rick has got 2 puzzles prized. If he's able to discard 1 or 2 others of them, that's pretty much a seal and wrap up right there for me.
Well, so what we can actually see here, and it'll be interesting to see if Seb is able to punish this quickly enough, is there are 2 strong energy on a Rockruff on the bench, and a choice band. So this is basically a case of if Lycanroc finds, if Seb really needs to deal with this before it becomes a Lycanroc, because otherwise this just runs through the list. Because even with 3 on the bench, you're hitting an obscene amount of damage. You're one-shotting Zoroark without weakness at this stage.
Yeah, I think getting that Rockruff off the bench and sort of straight into the discard is definitely the way Seb wants to go here. All he needs is a DCE for his Zoroark by the looks of his hand. He has got the Ultra Ball, so he opts to trade that away. He's got another Rockruff in hand, not able to play it down though due to the fact that Parallel City is still on the field. But we will go ahead and see what he does decide to do. Ultra Ball in the discard, so he can't grab himself another Zoroark very easily. 2 strong in hand as well. Not too many options by the looks of it. I see a choice band in there as well. And, there might be another Ultra Ball. There is. Okay. So we get rid of a strong and a choice band. I don't think this is too bad. Seb has only got 1 in the discard now. He's still got 3 of those still in the deck. Still going to be able to access Dangerous Road fairly easily, especially with the trade ability, being able to dig through his deck quite quickly. So I think another Zoroark really good here. This discard could be quite important though. The multi-switch goes in as well. And we see the Timer Ball. I think he's going to play that straight away, of course. Try and get down Lycanroc as quickly as possible.
It's
double tails. And that is the drawback of this card. Obviously, if you do hit 1 head, 2 heads, it can be really game-changing, obviously, off the Timer Ball. Just being able to grab those cards for free out of your deck. However, double tails, nothing hurts more.
Well, so it's actually, on average, the same as an Evo Soda, right? When you flip a coin, on average, you'd like to think, at least, you get 1 card, in the same way you get the Evo Soda. But because you get to play it from hand, you're really happy because you still get your Bloodthirsty Eyes. Unfortunately, it doesn't always pan out that way, and sometimes you're just going, I'm flipping coins for no apparent reason. So he has Rockruff in the active. I'm not sure if that's, Rick's just going, right, okay, you only have the Rockruff that's a threat right now. It's the only way you're dealing with mine, so I'm going to just retreat. And did he... It's got 3 energy on it, or was it the GX attack? Has he got
3 energy on it? He didn't GX, surely.
I think that was the GX attack?
Surely not.
I
can't actually...
Yeah, double check.
The GX marker wasn't flipped, so...
No, at the very least. So, but I don't see a 3rd energy.
Unless it's the... No, because that's the Rockruff. I can read the writing there on the top of the fighting card.
Yeah.
That's really...
So we'll see what happens.
Bit worrying. Did he... Oh, no, he thought... He flip.
Yeah. He just didn't.
Okay. He just didn't flip it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, to be honest, it doesn't matter because with only dark Pokemon on Seb's side of the board, he doesn't need his GX attack ever again.
Oh no, of course.
Like,
I know. I'm just making the point. Obviously, it would have been very bad if he thought he Claw Slash, because obviously that would have been upsetting for Seb. Obviously, not having the energy. So the Delinquent is in Seb's hand, and he's going to play it. We're going to see it. Delinquent comes down. He discards the only 3 cards in his hand.
What a turn!
And that is where the Delinquent is important. Of course, he's going to top deck something. He is able to trade that away. But if he top decks something that he can't discard, that's going to be huge. We see the Delinquent come in, and Seb actually hits it right at the opportune time for 3 cards in his hand.
The fact that they happened exactly at 3 cards in hand is ridiculous.
And that is what it is in there for. I think you've got to give huge props to Seb for that. Absolutely fantastic play there with the Delinquent. A really nice tech for this by the looks of things. Not a card that's been played very much outside of these mill decks that sort of get rid of your hands, get rid of your decks and stuff like that. But I'm absolutely blown away by that. I think now, especially that Rick, obviously, again, we keep mentioning he's got 2 puzzles prize. He had to play one early game as well in order to look at the top 3 cards of his hand. Top 3 cards of his deck.
Has he played Mallow?
He played Mallow, yeah.
Okay. Didn't he just Delinquent?
He did just Delinquent.
Well, no, because this card's in Rick's hand, so he drew and traded. So it was literally just draw, trade, pass. So yeah, very very quick turn for Rick to the point where quite easy to miss. That who's just went, nope, not that card, 2 more. So the Mallow basically going, right, let's go and find exactly what we need to deal with
exactly
this.
What we need. And I imagine exactly what he does need now is he's going to go for the Lycanroc and the other energy. I imagine if it, something to allow him to Dangerous Rogue. He needs to get rid of this Lycanroc now. Rick has unfortunately already used his GX attack on a Rockruff, meaning that later on in the game he's just going to be able to Claw Slash. I think that it's really important here that Seb deals with the Lycanroc.
I'm interested to see what he's actually taking off his Mallow, because the Zoroark is still stuck in the active. So he's in a position where actually he wants to see more than he can.
It is Lycanroc and Floatstone, yeah. I thought that's what it might be. Being able to do that. No activation, the DCE comes down, and of course we're going to see the Dangerous Rogue there for knockout. I think that is the perfect play from Seb. I don't think he could have done anything else better. I think getting rid of that Lycanroc really opens up Rick now to have to trade into the things he needs. He's only got 1 Zoroark on board, which makes that increasingly hard for him. Of course, we see the 1 puzzle in his hand. Useless card for him at the minute. All he can do is look at the top couple of cards of his deck. The 2 in the prizes still.
He did draw into the Cynthia, which is fine. This is one of the issues, actually, in that because we have so many draw supports, Delinquent, it's like low hand sizes is less likely to actually stick, because
it stuck for a turn though. But did allow Seb to get the dangers. It was a huge turn. It swung the game back in Seb's direction. That Lycanroc looked extremely threatening at the top of the board there. Just leaning over, sort of. I'm ready. I need 1 energy, and all of your Zoroark are mine for dinner now. So it's really important that he just leant over, got that, pushed things back in his direction, and now has put Rick on the back foot to where he needs to hit things off these trades in order to get himself back in the game.
Well, so the other thing we know here as well is that the fact that the DCE went onto the Lycanroc means he's not looking for an attachment now to be able to start taking these 2 pros knockouts. He's actually able to, just Guzma, go.
Exactly, especially with the Floatstone on the Zoroark that was played down last turn. Unless Rick has some way to remove that, the Guzma play just becomes a natural thing now to where he doesn't need to do much else to put in the work. He sees the timer ball. We're going to see it drop. He's got double puzzle in hand as well by the looks of things.
So he's just trying to debate. It's like, okay, right. If I double puzzle, what do I double puzzle for?
I think double puzzle here for enhanced hammer could be very strong, meaning that he doesn't necessarily have to hit Guzma this turn in order to knock out the Lele. We know that Rick isn't able to access any more puzzles in order to get those DCEs back, so actually enhanced hammer becomes a lot more effective.
Double puzzle for Guzma E-hammer is actually really strong here.
So being able to get that E-hammer, he can't get those back very easily, obviously, and we've got a 3rd puzzle at a time in hand now.
Just in case.
Hopefully all 4 of them come down in 1 turn. That would be pretty insane.
We did see that at one point in Stuttgart in one of the early rounds. Someone played full puzzle.
So yeah, I think Guzma E-hammer could be the best play possible from here. Take 2 prizes, go even further ahead, and then of course get rid of the Lele as a threat to respond. And then that means all he has to hit is Guzma for his last turn in order to take the last prizes. Of course, he goes to the Guzma off the Lele anyway, which means his puzzles now are a lot more open for those techie options. Maybe even grabbing Enhanced Hammer, and maybe another Zoroark for himself.
No, so he's actually going for the KO.
He's just going really straight for the KO?
Because it puts into a position of, you know, really short time window. And from the fact he's played the double puzzle, there's another Rockruff, so he can Bloodthirsty Eyes. It gives him an extra outs. You know, he took the Lycanroc off the prize cards the previous turn, so he actually, by getting the next Rockruff down, he's able to go, right, Guzma, Ultra Ball, and other options are just super strong. You know, this is actually one of the things that makes this deck so interesting and such a strong deck, is so much of it isn't required as the support of a turn. You can use your support for things other than switching and for drawing if you wanted to. This is why they can play things like Acerola, Mallow to guarantee yourself things like all of your techs, you know, the multi-switch that he's playing, the Enhanced Hammer, all become way easier to access suddenly.
And Lycanroc comes back in and of course takes those another 2 prizes. Bear in mind, just through the Parallel City, we could open ourselves up for another cheeky delinquent play here. Might not be the right one, but I definitely want to see it. So Rick in an awkward position here. He really needs a Lycanroc realistically in order to start putting on a little bit more pressure. Obviously the Rockruff has no energy on it though, so...
Yeah, he's in an awkward situation because the Lele takes a KO, which puts him down to 3 prize cards, which is actually really nice. And Seb hasn't got anything on his side of the board that is immediately threatening this Lele. You know, it's a 2-hit knockout at all times. You know, there's the 1 energy on the Rockruff, but the issue is that it's not taking a 1-hit KO with Claw Slash. It would only be hitting for 130. You need too much in one turn to be able to make this work. So we're at a point now where we're looking at Rick able to take in a couple of prize cards. He gets one of the puzzles out of the prize cards. But it might be a case of there maybe...
He's going to get the stretcher though. No, I do think though that Seb's in a good position. He's got a big hand at the minute.
Yeah.
The Rockruff has got a strong energy on it. We saw him already with 3 puzzles in hand, which means off his trades, obviously now that End's been played, but he has got 2 Zoroark up as well, at least. He could trade into another one as well. So Seb's sort of in a position here where all he needs is a Guzma for game, realistically. All he needs is a Lycanroc and a DCE for game. Obviously, the Lycanroc does get knocked out. Otherwise, if Rick decides to go knock something else out, all he needs is a Guzma to bring the Lycanroc back into the active. So I think the Seb's got quite a few outs here in order to win himself the game, with 2 trades as well, making those outs even more likely to happen. And hopefully we will see that commence on his side, winning him the game, and the earliest finish I think we would have had today as well.
But he still has to hit it because Rick's in a position now where by taking the KO, if Seb doesn't have game, he's kind of got very little on his board to threaten with. Yes, okay, he only has to take 1 more 2 prize knockout, but Rick's actually in a fairly comfortable position anyway. You know, he has the 2 Zoroarks, he has his own Rockruff ready to go. But
he has the other
promoted
Zoroark
that immediately.
So he's got the DC in hand as well. We've got the choice ban. He touches the Bridget. Guzma.
Okay,
we see another Zoroark, and do we see it? He misses it, unfortunately. The best play here, I think you just pay the treat and come back in. You know, Rick needs to take 3 more prizes.
But then you're still 2 prize cards away, so you're still 2 attachments away from actually being able to take the knockout.
No, of course, if he attaches DC to Zoroark here, retreats with the Rockruff and hits into the Lele, he does enough damage then to... Exactly, and then he's got the Guzma for next turn. Rick is on 3 prizes at the minute, which means even if he does take 2 prizes next turn, Seb has the chance then to come back in with a Guzma and win the game.
So, yeah, it's a case of Guzma, bring up the... Zoroark, you know, you're threatening a 2-hit KO.
And he plays the parallel to stop that Lele from coming down and sort of stopping any of that from happening, stopping the Guzma from coming down, and stopping the extra draw. He's going to do 80 here, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 here, and it's going to start moving things back in Seb's direction a little bit. I feel like he's been firmly in control of this whole game the whole time, and he does 120 damage now, the Rockruff on the board as well. It'll be interesting to see what Rick's response is here. We know that Seb has Guzma in hand.
Yep.
So even if something gets pulled out over that Zoroark, then we know that Rick is able to actually respond again with Guzma. So as long as that Zoroark is able to find its way back into the active next turn, he's able to win this game. And we see a reverse Valley come down. Not something that we mentioned earlier with the deck list, but what mass does this actually help?
So it's an extra 10, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the extra 10 you're going to get means that you're hitting 130 or 160.
The 130 allows you to hit Baby Buzz for a one-shot,
yeah.
Which obviously in some places could actually.
I was just trying to work out. There's quite a lot of like nice things you hit at 130 that you don't get at 120. So it's
I think it's more for
maths.
I think it's more for the 130 as opposed to the choice band maths. Obviously, choice banding is 150, 160. I don't think there's too much in format. So obviously, I think that 130 mass though actually quite cheeky there. Being able to knock out those buzzes.
Yeah, the non-GX Buzzwole, because it just means that you actually get into positions where, especially because it's not a card that you see very often. I think he's only playing a 1 count.
Yeah, it's a 1 count of Reverse Valley.
It's probably able to like very quickly swing the game and kind of swing the tempo.
And I think that's game. Did he N or is
that was a Guzma?
So
it was a Guzma to.
So we know that Seb has Guzma, right?
Yeah. So this looks like it's going to be a case of.
I think it might be game.
Take the KO, promote anything other than one with energy. If he has the Guzma in hand.
If he does have the Guzma still, I don't know.
No, he used the Guzma last turn. He used the Guzma.
Oh, of course he did. Of course.
To do the damage in the first place. So he's got to try and work out which one he needs to go for.
Obviously, he has got 3 Zoroark on board. So even if this card in hand isn't necessarily great, he has got plenty of opportunity to try and get something out of it. So he plays the Mallow, which could be pretty integral. I imagine going for an enhanced hammer somewhere. Bloodthirsty Eyes. Oh, well, that is the other way to do it, right? He's going to play down that Lycanroc, choice band, and he's they awkwardly went to. They tried
the handshake and couldn't quite make it. There we go.
There we go. And they finally shook hands. Seb. We talked about at the start of the game, he's in top 22, a young player, and he is really showing that the UK can do the job in their home country.
Well, so it actually was a really nice game, because what we learned from that is Seb, always felt in control in the